In this video, we're going to be talking about working with our rhinestone fonts here inside CorelDRAW. Now we're going to show you both the EasyStone way and the CorelDRAW way. So if you don't have EasyStone, you'll still be able to work with our rhinestone fonts. Now I should point out that nothing that we're going to show you is magical. So these techniques will work with any rhinestone font you may have purchased from any vendor out there. So we're going to go ahead and grab our text tool here in CorelDRAW. Now I've already selected one of our rhinestone fonts, and I'm just going to type out the words "I love baseball." Okay, now the problem that we have when we use this font is we don't know how large those dots are. We may have in our mind how large of dot we want it to be to cut our template, but we don't actually know what size that dot is right now. And that's one of the biggest drawbacks to working with rhinestone fonts. A lot of vendors have all kinds of weird, crazy mathematical formulas and options to tell you how big that dot is, but it's kind of a convoluted setup to work with. So what we did here in EasyStone is we actually just created a function that does all the mathematics for us. So no matter what font we choose, no matter what that dot size is, it's really not relevant. We just tell it what our target stone size is, which in this case, when I'm cutting a template for SS10 stones, I always cut the holes at 3.3 millimeters, and we have this function down here called break our text. Now if we click on that, what it does is it automatically analyzes the selected object, and you can see that it's resized our font. It's changed the color. It changed the color so it knows that we processed it, and if we look at each object, now it's exactly 3.3 millimeters. And see, that's a really nice feature. Now, one of the other things that you'll probably want to do with your rhinestone fonts quite frequently is change the spacing between the letters. Either make it tighter or sometimes make it looser. And so what we've done is we've given you the ability, if I make this larger, all right, watch what happens to the word love here. All right, when I come over back to the stone tab and I choose resize replace, notice that nothing really changes dramatically except that the spacing between the stones and the word love got wider apart. And if I take the word love by itself and I make it smaller and I choose resize replace, now you can see that obviously it's gotten very, very close together. So I might back that off a little bit. And so you can really change the hole size and the spacing between stones quite easily. In fact, I can even change the size of my stone if I wanted to, and go down to 2.6 stones very easily. And again, I could adjust the spacing between very, very easily. So without having some type of tool here in CorelDRAW for changing the diameter of the hole size, it does make the process a little bit more difficult. So let's go ahead and show you how we would achieve this somewhat same result here in CorelDRAW. So let's just go ahead and minimize EasyStone here, grab our text tool again, and we're going to start off with I love baseball. There we go. So there's I love baseball again. And then what we're going to do is we need to break this down into so that at least one of these letters down to the individual dots, because I don't know how big that dot is. So what I do is I come up to the Arrange menu and choose this option, Break Artistic Text. And when you do that, what it's done is it's broken into 3 individual sets of lettering. You can see it's still artistic text. So this letter I, we're going to convert to a curve. So we're just going to right click, convert to curves, or use our shortcut key Control Q. Now that brings it down to a curve, but it's still a single object. So then if we right click again and choose break apart, now we have individual stones. Right here in our letter I, each one of these is an individual object. Okay? So now when we select that, you can see that right now it's 0.442. So here's the mathematical formula. We take our target stone size, which is 3.3, and we divide it by 0.442, that gives us a scale factor. That gives us a scale factor of 747%. Okay, so we're just going to select everything and scale this 747% and see what happens. So now we've scaled it 774%, and now in theory, that dot should measure very, very close to 3.3 millimeters, and of course, you can see it does. So now we know that all the dots are at the SS10 size that we needed. Now, if for some reason we needed to change it back to SS6 after we've converted it to SS10, the math works the same way. So we just take our target stone size, which is 2.6, and divide by the current size. Even though it's a bigger number, it's okay. So then when we divide by 3.3, which is the current size, which gives us a value of 79%. Okay, so if we select everything and we scale it back down to 79%, and we choose the dot, we should be right at our 2.6, and we are. So you can see it's very, very easy if you understand that principle. Take your target stone size, always divide it by the current stone size, and look at the calculator, and it'll tell you what the scale factor should be, and that will work with any font that you're working with. The challenge, of course, is getting it down to converting it to curves and breaking it apart as many times as necessary to get the individual letters to the point where you can interact with them on the dot level. So a little bit extra work if you don't have a fancy macro like EasyStone. So let's talk about a couple of more things, just to give you a couple of ideas of what we can do in terms of design work. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to draw out a square, and I'm going to convert it to a curve, which I've already done. Grab my shape edit tool and double click one of these lines here. Okay, now these are little things that I want to show you that are kind of above and beyond the scope of this particular video, but it's just trying to teach you a little something because these are things that we do every day in CorelDRAW, and if we learn these little concepts, I think you'll find that working in CorelDRAW is going to be a lot more enjoyable, and you're going to be able to produce things that you want to produce. So here's a fun little exercise. Okay, so under the view menu, I always usually work with snapped guidelines, and I always usually work with snapped objects turned on, so that over here with my rulers I can just click and drag and snap right to that node. Now what I want to do with my pick tool here is I'm going to select my rectangle and I'm going to click on it one more time. You see these little control handles? I can now rotate my rectangle, but see that little thing right in the middle? I can pick that up. That is the point in which the triangle rotates on. So if I pick that up, just left click and drag right down to this node, watch what happens. See where the triangle rotates from that corner. Pretty cool stuff, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this down but hold my control key down, and it will constrain different angles. You can see that. You can kind of see it just kind of snaps into place. If I hold down my shift key, I can scale it, do all kinds of things, right? So what we want to do is we want to rotate this 45 degrees. So let's just go ahead and enter that. I'm not quite sure why. Oh, this must have not been a perfect square. So let's back up. Let's, this is good exercise here. So let's go back to a perfect square, because that probably was not a perfect square. We get a perfect square by holding down our control key, and we're going to convert to a curve, and we're going to grab, delete a node, right? And we're going to take this guideline, we're going to snap it right to that node, we're going to select our triangle, click it on again, and pick that up and move it down here. And now let's see if we get any different result. We should. There we go. Because I wanted it perfectly horizontal for this example. Alright. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my shift key and show you something else here. So I hold my shift key down, and as I stretch from the left or from the right and come to the left, watch what happens. See how both sides of my triangle move at the same time? If I don't have my shift key, then it doesn't, right? So that's just a little something for you. So there we go. So I just wanted to just change that triangular shape just a little bit. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our text tool and we're going to come right to the edge. Now, look closely at the cursor. See that little squiggly line below the A? What that tells us is it's going to place the text on that line. If we come to the inside, see the cursor, see that little AB? What that's going to do if I start typing text, it's going to type text in that is triangular. It's going to fit the text within that triangle shape. But if I come to the outside, it'll fit the text on the path. And you're going to find that in Rhinestone design we do that a lot. So good to know how to do this on the path. So let's go ahead and click on that. And I'm just going to kind of make something up. I'm just going to type in Williams Baseball Little League. Okay, whatever we want. Now, I know what I want. I want Williams over here on the left. I want baseball over here on the right. And I want Little League to go across the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to select my entire font here. And all I'm doing is just double clicking on the text and keep clicking till it's all highlighted. And I'm going to change the size of this to 70. Alright, and I look at it and I see, whoa, that's too big. So let's back it off to 50. And I don't know what the answer is here. We just have to keep looking at it. And that's probably pretty close. Let's try 50. Now if I go back to my pick tool, see that little red square? I can pick that up and move it. And I could put Williams right there. See how Williams is right there? Now when I have Williams there, then I get a better feel for what's happening. Now you see the rest of it, Baseball Little League? Watch what I can do. I'm going to switch over to my shape tool. And you see all these little dots that appear below every letter? I can control every single letter separately. So what I might do is select all my letters, hold my shift key down. You can see how that all those nodes turn to black, but this one. So I need to select it too. And then right here, I can take my letter B, and when I push my B to the point where I want it, see I want Williams Baseball Little League, I get a better picture of what I might wind up with in the end. So when I look at this again, I say, well, you know what? I can make this a little bit bigger. So let's try and push this to 60. I think I can make that work. So let's go back to our pick tool. There's that red line. Let's push Williams to where we want Williams to be. Right? And we want Williams to be right there. Alright, so looks like we got S going on there, so let's back this off a little bit. So now we have Williams where we want it to be. Back it off a little bit more. It's kind of hard to see because the letters are overlapping, right? So maybe we should deal with that first. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab our shape tool and select our font here. And I'm just going to try and zoom in here so I can get a feel for where we are at. Let's see here. Let's try this one. Okay, that's moving the L on Williams. Well, we don't want to do that. What's this one moving? This one is moving the L, it seems like. Well, this might be a little bit more difficult. Tell you what, let's do this. Let's do this. See, sometimes you gotta rethink things a little bit. Let's drop this back down to 55. Because now it just makes it a little bit easier to see. And then what we can do here is we'll go ahead and grab our shape tool, and now I can clearly see the E here. And actually I'm selecting the W, so we don't want to do that. What we want to do is select, so this is the control for the W, see that on Williams, and then this is the control on the E. So I want to select everything. You see all those are black, and then I want to select those. So now if I push this E back into place right here at the bottom, that will push everything else back just like I want. And then I might come in here and just select these nodes here, and then go ahead and bring this over, right, because I don't want as big a space there. And then I might select all those nodes and just push this back. So you can kind of finesse this a little bit to the way you want it. Now this is good enough for this example. It's about exactly what I wanted. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to right click. You can do it over here, you can do it wherever you want to, but sometimes I'll just do it right here in the Object Manager and convert it to curves. And then we can probably make this triangle a little bit smaller, like so. And then we need to separate all these words. Okay, so I might come in here and first of all, I'm going to ungroup all. And I'm going to ungroup. If I select this, you see what part here? So I'm going to break it apart, and I'm going to do that all the way around. Break it apart. Break it apart. See, the letter S is part of the baseball. So let's break it all apart first of all, and then let's group the parts that we want together. So there's baseball and Williams. So then it's just a matter of doing a little flippity flip, right? So we're going to flip it both directions. We're going to select that text and the triangle and hit C. That centers the text left to right. And then all we're going to do is take our Williams text and bring it down a little bit, keeping that spacing off the line about the same. So we'll bring it down a little bit, and then do the same thing with our baseball text. Just kind of center it up a little bit, bring it down. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. And then just to finish this off, if we want to, we can duplicate it, just hitting the plus key on my keyboard, and we'll shrink it down a little bit. And maybe what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and take both of those items and combine them together, and we'll give it a fill. Maybe we'll give it a red fill, whatever we want, doesn't really matter, right? And then we'll give it a nice outline. Well, maybe not quite that big. Do something like that. And then what we can do here is, now remember, to finish this design we still need to get this dot size right. So we right click, ungroup all. We already have it down to the dot size, 1.061. So our target stone is 3.3 divided by 1.061. That means we have to scale at 312%. So we'll select the whole design, scale at 312%, and hopefully, in theory, that dot should be right at 3.3 millimeters, which it is. So now we can go ahead and cut this design if we want to. We can change our outline property a little bit, make it a little bit thicker. We could add a little baseball in the middle if we wanted to, whatever you want to do there, but that gives you an example of a nice little design using our rhinestone fonts, and then doing something kind of special with them as far as, you know, putting them along a path and understanding how to change the stone size and so forth, doing it all right here inside CorelDRAW. Now, we don't expect you to get all those steps in the first go through of the video. That's why there's a forward and reverse button. Watch it as many times as you need to grasp all the concepts. But once you do, we think you'll find that working with the rhinestone fonts here inside CorelDRAW, even if you don't have Easy Stone, you'll be able to master it in no time. Thanks for watching.